el capítulo de hoy vamos a tener con nosotros a 3 pilotos de categoría mundial. 3 personas que han dado todo en sus equipos nacionales y que son mundialmente conocidos. Antes de saber quiénes son, bienvenidos a Hangar Chats. Bienvenidos a un nuevo capítulo de Hangar Chats. En esta ocasión tenemos el lujo de estar con 3 pilotos históricos en el vuelo acrobático, gente que lo ha volado todo y lo ha volado de una manera impresionante. ¿Qué deciros? Las vais a conocer ahora. Estamos con Irene Pasini, Elena Klimovic y Catel Boulanger. I would like you to send your message and your speeches to the young guys that are thinking about become a pilot, become aerobatic pilots, or even just cross the sky in anything that can fly. So do your best because we need them and you know it well. So, in first place, Catel, how did it begin?
How did that all begin? Well, it began with my 2 parents, private pilots, and as soon as I was out of their hospital after my birth, I was already in the plane and on the back seat and flying with them all the time. And I used to live just in front of a small grass airfield in France, which was just magnific. And I was handling the fuel station, and I was always going to see every airplanes which was landing over there, or any helicopters, and I just wanted to fly. It was my only aim in my life, to be in an airplane.
So proximity, you had proximity with aviation since the first moment.
Exactly.
Wow. Something of that, I think, in all of us. Even, well, it's not time to speak about my experience. However, Elena, how did it begin?
Well, nobody in my family was a pilot, and there was no even talk about flying in the family. But I was raised with, in my generation, we still have examples of people who we regarded not heroes, and not only heroes, but examples for in life, because it was not aerobatics, flying and exploration of space was still new, and there was a lot of examples of people who flew and fought at the World War II, and in the country was still kind of in the memory when, let's say in 30s, there was a slogan which would invite people to the airplanes. Girls and boys just go, and it was actually a big demand and a big movement for aviation. So I read books, I saw movies, and it was kind of, there were people to live on their examples. And then in the school, I made 3 parachute jumps because I went to a school. Well, it's not. It was kind of for everybody outside school to be in other activities like whatever they would choose, aeromodeling or flying.
Yeah, they take you to make music or something like that, an instrument. You go parachuting. Wow.
Or go in for football or somewhere, or be involved in some sports. So it was free, and it was for lots of people. So I went to a school where they taught some theory of flying, of navigation, of how the airplane is designed, and so on. We had 2 teachers who were formal pilots, or pilots and navigators, who taught the young children what it was all about. And we made, in the 10th grade, we made 3 parachute jumps. And people there, well, mostly boys, but a few girls.
At which age? How old were you?
10th grade of school.
That it's for
so it's about, I don't know, 16 probably. Yes. So boys mostly wanted to go to a military flight school or civil flight school after the school of normal school. So it was like kind of like this. And then I went to. At that time, I didn't know anything about aerobatics, actually. I knew about maneuvers because they were used at the World War II, or I knew about maneuvers because it was a history of aviation, but not about the sport of aerobatics. And when I came to an air club and started flying, and in a little while, I was given a ride with some aerobatic maneuvers, and that's it. I was hooked.
And Irene, come ha cominciato tutto per te?
Il primo volo avevo 2 anni con mio papà.
Come il Catel, no?
E quindi mio papà era pilota, prima militare poi civile, e quindi sono cresciuta negli aeroporti e nell'aeroclub. Però quando ho raggiunto l'età per prendere la licenza di volo, mio padre non voleva. E quindi ho aspettato 1 anno, 2 anni, poi mio padre ha ceduto e quindi ho preso la licenza e mi è piaciuto molto, ecco. Primi voli con mio papà e poi ho continuato.
E l'acrobazia?
Inizialmente facevo rally, non acrobatia. L'acrobatia è iniziata quando a un campionato ho visto il team russo e mi sono innamorata dell'aereo russo e delle piloti russe.
Ma dopo parliamo di questo, perché abbiamo una cosa, scusami, we have here something in common. The 4 pilots are here that we have been flying long time at Sukhoi.
Sì.
Is that something, let's say, something that we have in common is not the center of this let's say, conversation, but it will come later, because I think all of us will love Sukhoi specifically, because we have been loving that and flying that plane so much.
Interesting here to see the comparison of styles. Now, it's not just because we have the ladies very contained, very much in control, and still flying the same G levels. And don't forget, if you're pulling 10G, which is not unknown in multiple figures, big G gates here at these championships, if you pull 10G and you weigh a mere 150 pounds, well, for as long as you are pulling that G, you will weigh, believe it, an incredible 1,500 pounds.
So, about your first, I'm speaking general, flight, about your first instructor. What do you remember, Catel?
So general flights?
Yeah.
My first instructor was a friend of my parents, and I was 14. And my mom had a hotel restaurant just in front of the airfield. So he used to come, just say hello, and have a glass of water before going back to flight. And once he was there and said, okay, when does she start? Right now. Oh, yes, finally. I was 14. And I thought it was so late to start because I was so eager to start flying since very young. And my parents weren't flying anymore at this time. So I was so happy. And I remember a lot of these first flights. And I'm still in contact with them by email or WhatsApp or Messenger sometimes. And that's fun because the first instructor you have, they stay the instructor for your life because they teach you so much of what you like, what is your passion. It's a total discovery and you owe them so much.
And aerobatic instructor?
And aerobatic instructor, well, of course, it's more than anyone, any instructor is like, for me, it's like my dad or my granddad, Francis Citier. He taught me everything from the first roll, and he guided me to the unlimited aerobatic team. He was also my technician on the Sukhoi. I owe him everything.
Great guy, Francis. Yeah. Big hi to Francis.
And he was also the judges on my nationals and internationals contests.
Great man,
so
great
now
aerobatic guy, yes.
He doesn't judge anymore, but we got him on the phone sometimes, from time to time, and we think of him very often.
Oh. He was here helping us as well, sometimes. But, you know, great guy, as I told you. Elena.
In the air club, when I started flying, my first instructor was very strict with the program. So I started, well, it's just kind of step by step. But for aerobatics, we actually started aerobatics the first year of flying because in our program, we have spin training before you solo the airplane.
That is something logical.
It's logical, yeah, because it's a safety.
Yeah.
So we started with the spin training in very beginning of all the study, and then right after you solo, you start flying figures. So my first instructor, with whom I solo, taught me first aerobatic maneuvers. And then you just needed to proceed with the program and go on.
You have good reminds that times?
Yeah, but as I tell, I didn't know real aerobatics, well, let's say before I tried the first spin or a little bit later on when somebody gave me a ride with some more maneuvers. Mm-hmm. But I think the most memorable maneuver was the first spin, which I tried, because it was like, okay, you read the manual, you study all the things which need to be done, you walk on the ground with all the control and trying to figure out where to look at, what to see, or all your how distribute your attention, so you know everything. And when you're in the airplane and the instructor, it's a very calm person. My first instructor was a very calm person, and he's telling, okay, now you look at the speed, okay, you pull the power back, and you see the speed coming to what there's, and it was like, okay, yeah. And the moment the needle came to the spot, I think he didn't even manage to tell that now, and it was like, oh, and it was like, whoa, and now it's the ground in front of you. So I never ever experienced anything like this. I remember my first spin because I did it myself. I just choked the stick, and that was it.
Oh, so good, so good. Then, Irene, first general aviation instructor and first aerobatic instructor.
Il mio primo istruttore di volo è stato un pilota ex militare di G91. Ho avuto una scuola molto seria perché proveniva dal militare, ecco, e questo mi è sempre piaciuto. Mm-hmm. Mi ha insegnato e anche all'esame della licenza ha avuto un ispettore che con il Cessna 150. All'esame di pilotaggio mi hanno fatto provare la vite, mi ha chiesto di fare la vite e questo mi è piaciuto molto. Come istruttore acrobatico ho avuto un istruttore italiano, Marzetti, e un istruttore francese, Bertoli.
Marzetti era in questo punto alla gara o aveva
Sì.
lasciato?
No, faceva parte della squadra acrobatica italiana.
Adesso come l'Elena, tu hai fatto i primi voli, hai fatto la vite, no? Anche l'esame. Oh.
All'esame col Cessna 150 ho fatto la vite.
Una cosa
Sì.
interessante. The same thing like you, one of the first flight. Well, in fact, her exam, the inspector said, well, do a spin. The what? The spin. Oh, yeah, like this, that. And they, so interesting, no? These things. Well, anyhow, so now you became members of your national teams, so you passed the level. How was this pass when you realized that you are there, that you are not anymore a student? And no, now there is going to be a lot of people looking at you. You are going to be defending the flag of your country. You are going to international competition with the best, to compete, to be compared with the best pilots in the world. How was that at the beginning, your first time in the national team?
Well, my first time in the national team, I can remember the evening when Francis Itier, my aerobatic instructor, came back from the federation meeting, and we were at the air club, and he told me, okay, now you will be part of the French unlimited team. I said, oh, wow, really? Are you serious? And it was such a big emotion. A big emotion, of course, pleasure, joy, everything positive, for sure. But also the idea that now I really have to get it right and to show that I have the level to be in this team. So they can say, okay, we did the right choice to choose her. And then it was like the instant idea. And when you find yourself in a training camp with all this fantastic team, it's fabulous. The French team is a really great group, well organized with the federation. And there's such a high level and a good ambience that I was the youngest one, the little one, young and everything, and they took me with pleasure in the group. They helped me. They were looking at my flights, giving me advice, and really thank you to all the team, and including Francis, who was the assistant of the coach, and our national coach, Coco. He taught me so much. Thank you, because without all this organization, without Coco, without all the team, I'm not sure I would have done so well, so quickly. Wow.
We all remember Coco. Oof. even the members of other teams. Now, a strong guy, but very good as well. I have good reminds of him. So, who was your reference in the team? Who was the pilot you were looking at? Just like, I want to be like that.
The one I want to be like that. Well, I like different styles.
But
I'm not sure I can say.
Don't be polite. No, come on. Don't be polite.
No.
That you were. There is always somebody that you see fly and say, "Oh,
I've always liked Eric Vazey and Nicolas Ivanov styles because they are very precise and punchy, and I like those styles. I totally respect and admire also those pilots who have a more classical style, like very regular, very precise, like metronomes, like a music. This is also what we are looking for in aerobatic, to respect the drawing. But I like when it's a bit kind of explosive, even if sometimes it gets into a small error. But I think this is the style, and this is also why I changed plane, I think.
I remember Ivanov in 2014 Spanish Championship here. Wow. I still remember positive, negative tumble going in the vertical. I've been all my life trying to replicate it. No way. Yeah. However.
And then Renault has also this punchy style.
Well, but Renault, yes, Renault was top. But anyhow, Elena, your first year in the team, how did you?
When I came to the team, well, first of all, we were invited as young pilots for training camp of young pilots with the team, and then later on proceeding with more and more training. There was always a big competition, meaning there were a lot of pilots to choose from. And even with this big competition, and with a big group who competed for the place in the team, it always was a teamwork where everybody helped everybody. And the more experienced pilots took care to transfer their experience to younger pilots, and at the same time they could listen to what the younger pilots who came have to say if they see something. And it was always teaching one another. So you kind of you picked up different things from different pilots, because even with the smallest things, everybody tried to explain something, how they felt it, because it comes from the experience, and it would help because you can pick up different things from different people and see different styles, but it was the same school. What was always with the Soviet Union team, where I was first in the Soviet Union team, it was a school of aerobatics. So it was not uniformed. I mean, everybody still has his or her own character in flight, but you were watching it all the time, and you were trying to replicate some of the things, or not replicate, but you kind of was getting it within you, looking at the different people, how they flew. But what was always what common to everybody, it's the like it's precision and the picture of all the figures, even the simplest one. It's sometimes more easy to do some difficult figure than to make an easy one perfectly. So you needed to be precise in every detail, and at the same time, you have to have some sparkling in your style, in your flying. It's what was in the school, in the team also.
And who was the pilot to which you were looking like, I wish to fly like that?
First of all, let's say in the team, when we first came, the pilot who taught me the most in this higher aerobatics was Victor Smolin. From different people, I would want to kind of to get something for my flying, and it not only from guys who were more experienced than me, but from the ones who came to the team at the same time as myself, or even later on probably, because I looked at different things from Victor's flying, and from Yugis Carey's flying, and from Vitas Lapenas, who came with me, and from Alexander Liberets, Sergei Krikalev. So from different pilots, how to approach, and from Lydia Leonova and Valentina Yaikova, from girls and boys, different things from different people. So I wouldn't say that, oh, I just wanted to fly like this certain pilot. I wanted to fly on the level of all these great pilots.
E alla squadra italiana, quando sei arrivato?
Quando sono arrivata nella squadra non è stato piacevole.
Perché?
Perché l'Italia non ha un team vero e proprio. E quindi sono sempre stata molto sola.
Sì.
Non come donna, ma perché la squadra italiana non c'è. Sono singole, persone singole, e quindi il mio riferimento sono sempre state le squadre straniere. La Francia prima, perché volavo con un aereo francese, e quindi il riferimento era la squadra francese, perché è una squadra unita, e poi i piloti russi, perché mi è sempre piaciuta la disciplina della Russia, e quindi è stato per me un riferimento quello da seguire. Purtroppo non sono mai stata molto contenta con la squadra italiana.
Mi dispiace. E puoi dire qualcun pilota della squadra che ti ha fatto, che tu guardiava con un po' di ammirazione?
Sì, inizialmente Patrick Paris, perché mi è sempre piaciuto il tipo di volo, e quindi ho cercato di seguire questo, e poi...
Ma dopo hai cruciato il fiume e è andato all'aereo russo?
Sì, perché la prima volta che ho visto l'acrobazia internazionale mi sono innamorata del rumore del Sukhoi, anzi dello Yak a quel tempo, e tant'è vero che ho un nastro completo di registrazione del rumore.
Vero?
Sì, ce l'ho ancora, perché mi piaceva come tipo di aereo.
Adesso per finire, scusami, perché abbiamo cominciato a parlare di aerei. Tu hai volato il Cap.
Io ho iniziato con gli aerei francesi, quindi il Cap 10, Cap 20, Cap 21, Cap 2 e 31.
Parlami di che ti piaceva di questi aerei, e al cambio al Sukhoi, che ha cambiato?
Il Sukhoi è sempre stato il mio primo amore, e quindi quando ho avuto la possibilità di volare un Sukhoi, anche se ero arrivata a un certo livello col Cap, e quindi il tipo di volo è diverso, e non avendo inizialmente un allenatore, un istruttore, era difficile cambiare, però ero innamorata. Poi ho avuto la fortuna di essere seguito da un gran pilota, che è Vitas Lapenà, che mi ha aiutato.
Adesso, dicino del Sukhoi che è tanto difficile, tanto fisico.
No, è diverso, non posso dire difficile, è un aereo diverso dal Cap.
Okay.
Io ero nella scuola, diciamo, del Cap, quindi francese e occidentale, e cambiare, però per un amore si cambia.
Mi piace. Elena, we have changed a little bit the subject in putting together the previous question with Irene. We have changed directly with the plane. You and Catel, but first I would like to have your opinion. Three of you have flown the Sukhoi, but you have flown as well other planes in competition. You have been flying extra as well. I don't know if competition in the last years, I think so, no?
Yeah, extra,
So,
30.
Tell me something, so the guys that are going to see this interview have an idea. Everybody speaks about the Sukhoi is so physical, the extra knot, the Sukhoi is a better plane. What can you say? You began with the Sukhoi and then you jumped to the extra. How can you say about this?
I didn't begin with Sukhoi. Actually, I came to Sukhoi through the serial of airplanes, but it
I'm
was
sorry, but I knew you first with the Sukhoi, so it's
Yeah.
my error.
But I mean, it was kind of natural because we all our airplanes were built around the same engine, actually. Well, with some modification of this engine, with better modification for later airplanes. But it was kind of natural progression to Sukhoi. But still, I love Sukhoi the best. It's a real airplane. And okay, that happened that I had to fly extra because I didn't have Sukhoi anymore. It was the main reason. I think for pilots, they would prefer this or that airplane, like drivers prefer this or that car, because every airplane has its own or her own, whatever you would call, character, and it needs to kind of coincide with your character or with your desire or with your expression. And I don't mind flying different airplanes like Sukhoi and extras. They are different. There's no perfect airplane. There are some better features in one airplane, better features in another airplane. Still, as I told, Sukhoi is the airplane which is built professionally as in an aviation company. And lots of thought is put to Sukhoi. And the extra is good airplane either. At some places it's lighter, or some figures probably easier in extra than in Sukhoi. But when you perfect flying Sukhoi, you can fly everything, I think. Anything.
And Catel, as well, Sukhoi driver,
Sukhoi
extreme driver.
For life.
Tell me.
Well, I'm French. I started on Cat 10 because this is our school airplane. It's absolutely a fantastic school airplanes. When Elena says once you have flown a Sukhoi, you can fly everything, that's true. But if you have flown a Cat 10 very well, has its capacities allows you, well, you can fly also any planes because it's a real school plane. And then after the Cat 10, Cat 231X, and I started my first international European contest with a Cat 232, still French planes.
That was in?
And it was in Kaunas, Lithuania, 2004.
Yes.
And then arrived in Kaunas, this sound, this fantastic engine sound. It's like a music. And it's just like, I don't know, something that blows. It's so beautiful to see, very homogeneous. There's not very slow and high speed, not as in a cap or an extra. And it's round, it's beautiful, it's strong, it's powerful, and it's called a Sukhoi. I felt in total love with the Sukhoi. I remember the Russian team, they put me in all their Sukhois, explaining me everything, sitting in their Sukhoi, and that was it. I wanted to fly one.
And then?
And then my first European Championship in 2004 in Kaunas, Lithuania, and wow, this sound like music, this show, well, it's just aérea flight, but it's so beautiful, so regular, so yes, it's like a dance for me, and it's just like blowing a sparkle in my heart, and it's just called a Sukhoi. I needed to fly one.
And you needed so much that you convinced a pilot that had a Sukhoi like his baby. You bought it and you put it, and next year you were competing. in Burgos,
Yeah.
with the ex-Sergio Delan 31.
Sergio's plane. Fabulous Sukhoi 31.
Become Catel's plane.
He began my plane, and it had been a great adventure. The adventure of my life. It will stay really in my heart for, I guess, the rest of my life, because the Sukhoi is a unique adventure, a relationship that you have with this aircraft. In my opinion, it's just regarding only me, but it's unique. It gives you a lot, but it's also very demanding. But when you engage yourself to put all the effort, all the energy to get everything from it, it's just fantastic.
I agree. I am as well in love with Sukhoi. Well, this is my plane. What can I say? I'm flying 330 now, but with all my respect to Walter, it's a fantastic plane, of course. And if I wouldn't have a Sukhoi, I would fly probably extra or other. But yes, it's a good plane as well. But 26, this one, 31 was very nice as well, I must say that. But anyhow, good enough. So, then we have seen caps, here we have caps, we have Sukhois, and we forgot about Extreme, the pink Extreme, I'm sorry.
The pinky one, yes, as well.
Philipp Steinbach made a great job and convinced half world that that was the plane. Not only Philipp, but Renault.
Renault flew the prototype.
Yeah.
And Mika and myself, we were a pilot for the Extreme factory to develop all the certification for the Extreme. And good, very good experience. The plane is fantastic, very demanding too, I think.
It's not a plane for
Not
everybody,
as easy as an extra for the first single seat or even two high performance aircraft, but I think it's a very good plane also. I would say it's more close to the Sukhoi than it is to an extra. That's why maybe I really liked it. Very good ferry plane as well. Yeah, and we learned a lot with the factory.
Maybe one day you can test again the mix of both. The body of the Extreme and the engine of the Sukhoi put together. Maybe all you probably you remember the project, but maybe another program, maybe another project soon. However, next step.
We're waiting.
Speaking our planes and short, because we are going to die of cold if not. Irene, most demanding plane for you, aerobatic plane. The most demanding. Vuoi dire, che aereo è il più difficile per te in acrobazia? Che ti ha fatto lavorare di più difficile, che ti ha...
Che mi ha fatto lavorare di più il Sukhoi, perché io provengo da una scuola francese e quindi ho lavorato di più col Sukhoi, però trovo che il Sukhoi sia molto formativo, molto di più, perché dopo il Sukhoi ho volato anche con l'Extra e il Sukhoi lo definisco un aereo completo. Un aereo con la A maiuscola, mentre l'Extra è come dire una macchina da turismo e una Ferrari. Il Sukhoi è una Ferrari.
Ho capito. Elena, for you, the most demanding plane you have flown in aerobatics, your experience?
Still Sukhoi, probably, because I flew more hours in this and actually tried more things in Sukhoi than in Extra, actually. And but demanding and at the same time giving more.
I agree.
And even this airplane can be perfected. with new technology, with some new features, and it was actually developed. One of the things is this airplane has been constructed and developed with the national team efforts from the very beginning, from the very beginning, from the scratch. Mm-hmm. So it's why probably the airplane is good. It's why it actually more and more things were done on the airplane to make it better, mm-hmm. and it still can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. And Catel?
Well, I join you really, and Elena, for sure, the Sukhoi, I think, is the most demanding.
I'm not being paid by Sukhoi, I promise. This is not, but we agreed. I mean, it's
the one that gives you the most as well.
Yeah, I agree. And when you say Elena is the most demanding, but at the same the plane that most give to me as well. It's a
it's a real exchange.
Yeah. In my my opinion, I can say that I have not so much experience in other planes. No, I've flown several, but not so so deep like the Sukhoi. I don't know others so deep. Now in Spain, we are trying to begin with glider aerobatics. Trying to begin not just to see if we can help in some way to aerobatics generally and to attract people to a sector that is near to us but not exactly with us, let's say, open to people that maybe have never been looking at aerobatics, like the glider pilots, for example. Have you had any experience with gliding aerobatics, Catel?
I've flown twice glider aerobatics. Mm-hmm. The feeling is different. The feeling of freedom mm-hmm. is here, and maybe a little more than with a plane that because you don't have this noise of the engine. Mm-hmm. We just have the air that you can hear around the cabin. Uh-huh. And this is the images I still have in my mind from these two flights. Really like a bird.
Nice, no? Elena?
I don't have the experience of aerobatics and gliders. When our pilots started flying aerobatic glider, there were, 8 pilots flying the one glider, and they were getting ready for their first competition, and the time was short, so it wasn't anything. It wouldn't be fair just to take somebody's flight and just to try it. And then it was always a short, not too much opportunity to fly just to fly. Mm-hmm. But what I got from our pilots who fly glider aerobatics, and first of all our pilots are powered aerobatic pilots who came flying glider, and one thing helps to another. Because in the glider, you don't have this engine, you don't have so much opportunity to correct something in the same flight. So glider aerobatics is more demanding, mm-hmm. but it gives you more discipline, and you learn more in glider aerobatics to be then used in powered. I mean, how to save the energy, that the correct flying helps you to save the energy, and so on. So and at the same time, our pilots became good in glider aerobatics because they already had this background of aerobatics, mm-hmm. of powered aerobatics, mm-hmm. and they tried to. It helped them to find all the features of glider aerobatics better, easier, or not probably easier, but faster.
Yeah. We have examples, yes, absolutely, very good ones. Irene, e tu?
Non ho esperienza di glide aerobatica, ho volato con il glide all'inizio perché mio padre, per prendere la decisione se prendere la licenza di volo col glider o a motore, ha voluto che io volassi prima col glider. però non mi ha entusiasmato e quindi ho continuato con il motore, non mi ha mai appassionato il glider.
Okay. Now, last question. Thinking in the boys and girls that are looking at us and are thinking maybe in become a pilot. Give the jump. How did you say that? Catel, how did you tell them to do it?
You have a dream, you have something in your mind. Well, there's no limit to your dream. The only limit we have is ourselves, in our mind. So if you have something in your heart, in your mind, you want to do, jump in, go. There are flight school, air clubs. Well, in front there are many, many air clubs. Almost on any airfield, you just can go. And I wouldn't say everywhere, every day. In our part, in Villeneuve-sur-Lot, there's someone at the air club every day of the year. The door is always open. Just come, even to talk, to see the planes. And this is the first ride, maybe the first step, the first flight hours. And then you get your private license, and then you can get your family, friends, to have just a small flight around the area. Or maybe one day you can go and have a nice lunch with other friends, like 300 kilometers, and we just take you a half day to go back and forth and get your friends there for lunch. And this is how you get into that. Mostly in the air clubs or in the flight schools, you have very, very joyful ambiances, but also very strict when it's like for the flight safety, because this is the main issue. And this is our passion. So it's affordable, it's open to everyone, and just make your dream real.
Thank you. Elena?
Well, first of all, what I would say, lots of boys and girls now have these fancy gadgets, and even with some flying simulators with well, real wheel or real pedals and so on, and very nice picture and everything. And I thought, okay, I'm flying. And sometimes when we saw it in China, they are better flying these simulator things than the real pilots. But what they don't have is the real feeling of flying. So go and try it. It's different. And you cannot reboot the real flight. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. But as Cathal said, yes, everywhere in aviation, you go step by step, and the safety is the first issue. And you do what you learn to do, and you do what you're ready to do, not just like, okay, I try this, oh, sorry, it's crashed, so I reboot it and go. It's different, but it's real. And even in your simulator things, you'll feel and you'll fly differently if you try it in the air. It's a completely different story. And as Cathal says, I agree with this, just follow your dream. Make it real.
Thank you. Irene?
Io penso che provare di volare, inizialmente bisogna provare di volare perché si vede il mondo in un modo diverso. E, se non si prova, uno non può decidere. È importante provare perché sono sensazioni che è difficile da trasmettere a parole, e soltanto in volo si trova la felicità. L'acrobazia è un altro modo di volare e di sentirsi liberi con un aereo, da soli con l'aereo, e di comandare l'aereo. È come essere su un puledro, un cavallo, e quindi è importante provarla perché sono sensazioni che a parole è difficile da poter trasmettere, ma è un mondo, il cielo è un mondo bellissimo, diverso e che può dare tante soddisfazioni.
Thank you very much. It has been a real honor to have you here.
Thank you.
To have so great pilots here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I repeat, Sukhoi is not paying me. I think he's not paying anybody, but anyhow. So thank you very much.
Sukhoi doesn't care.
And now let's go to a little bit warm place,
Yeah.
no?
And thank you for bringing us together.
Pleasure is ours. Thank you.
Now, pilots and
¿Quién coño esto tiene puesta una radio? ¡Au! ¡Eladi! ¡Apaga eso! ¡Que estamos grabando! Darme una pistola. Eladi, que se oye, que estamos grabando.
It's frozen, I guess.
Cool hands.
frozen chicken.